We feel comfortable in a mob. Don't be that person. Stay outside that mob. That's how successful people make their net worth. The second reason is, what's the second reason? Welcome to today's video where I'm going to be predicting if there's going to be a market crash coming up in the real estate industry. As I get into this video, I'm going to be talking about what a market actually is so we can understand the economics behind what a market is. Then we're going to really learn about what effects really took place during the pandemic. And I will be giving you my prediction if there will be a market crash. So make sure you subscribe to this channel and like this video so I can do some more content like this and hopefully you will learn. Okay, before we get into the market prediction, let's talk about the economy. What is an economy in simple terms? Well, economy is basically the number of transactions that are happening in the marketplace. Okay, the number of goods and services that are being bought. Now, when the economy is hot and on fire, the number of goods and services are being sold, and the business owners that are selling those goods and services are making a lot of income. So the market is cash heavy. Now, the second part to a strong market would be credit. So you have your cash and you have your credit. So let's talk about credit. So basically, since the market is thriving, business owners are making money and the consumers are spending money, their books are really good. Not only are their books really good, the economy is in a safe place, so lenders feel like their investment is safe. So they feel like lending more money. So now these people that are already making a lot of money are also getting a lot more credit. So lenders are using this credit and giving these people in the economy more money to spend. So now they're cash heavy and they're credit heavy, and now the economy is really buzzing. Now what's been happening as of late is lower interest rates to compound this effect. So these low interest rates cause consumers to want to borrow more money because the cost of borrowing is so low. Lenders are, like we said, very confident in lending this money to good creditors, and they know their money is safe. And this causes more of a boom in the economy. More transactions are being had. Money is flying, people are buying. And what happens in these kind of situations is supply starts running low. Because there's such a high demand, supply is low. There's not enough services or products to go around. This causes prices to even go higher for these goods and services. So much so, and with other factors, inflation usually goes high. So the cost of everything gets so expensive that the value of money goes down. So leaving your money in the bank doesn't make sense anymore. So let's say you have $100,000 in the bank. Because inflation is high, that money is losing value just by sitting there. So what do consumers want to do? They want to buy more assets because they're in a phase right now, and this is very important to understand. They're in a phase right now where if they bought an asset, it is appreciating rapidly in front of their eyes. We're seeing that today in the real estate market. I've never seen a time in my 17 years of selling home where people are making huge profits in their home in 1 year. I've never seen that. So now there becomes FOMO in society, which is the fear of missing out. People that were sitting on the sidelines are like, oh wow, we better go ahead and join this race or we're gonna miss out. We feel comfortable in mob mentality. When everybody is doing something, we do it as well. So this causes even more demand, shortage of supply, and now that causes a boom. Now after a boom, there's arguably a crash, and we're gonna cover that. However, before we get into that, let's talk about the pandemic. Let's talk about what happened in recent times. So because there was a pandemic, the government had to step in with stimulus packages. And this stimulus package included money being printed. Money was being printed because the government wanted people or society to stay at home. So let's remind you of a couple of things. Mortgage deferment. There was a policy that came in place where individuals or families did not have to pay their mortgage payment for a period of 6 months, even up to a year or longer, depending on where you are watching this from. So what they're saying is, you don't have to pay us a mortgage. We will defer those payments. A lot of those people still had jobs. So because they didn't have to pay a mortgage, guess what they could do? They had more purchasing power. They had more purchasing power to buy assets. Hold on to that for a second. Now, also part of the stimulus package came something where the government told everyone to stay at home, don't pay a mortgage, but also they would pay them to stay at home and not come to work. In this area, it was called CERB. So they were still getting wages. Consumers were still getting wages. Society was still getting wages, even though they weren't going to work. Society was still getting mortgages deferred. So they don't have to pay mortgages, they're still making their salary, and a lot of people were still working from home. It's not like a ton of people lost their jobs. The people that did lose their jobs was service industry. The bartenders, the massage therapists and such. And that level of society is usually living on rent, especially in metropolitan areas like the one I live in. So people that were working in services were renting anyway. People that had the corporate jobs or the white collar jobs were out there and they were still collecting a salary, but they didn't have to pay a mortgage. You get the point. They had more purchasing power. So another part of the stimulus package was very low interest rates. The government was giving out free money. Lenders were giving out free money, basically. So not only did consumers have more purchasing power for all the reasons that I just mentioned, they also had low interest rates where they can borrow all kinds of money and spend it. And what do people most likely feel comfortable spending that in? You got it, real estate. So the demand for real estate went even higher. So these low interest rates are now hiking up. So we are going from a stimulus economy to a neutral economy. Let me repeat that. We were in a stimulus economy, but now we're going into a neutral economy. A neutral economy is more balanced. It's actually very normal, but as of the last decade and a half, we've been so used to a stimulus economy. Let me take you back to 2008, the US subprime market crash. Because Canada is neighbors with the US, our interest rates are very similar. And since 2008, Canada's interest rates have been pretty low because we had to create, the US went through their market crash, these interest rates were low, and they wanted to stimulate the economy. They finally got back up, and then, after a few years, the pandemic happened. More than a few years in between, but you get the point. So what I'm trying to say is the Canadian interest rates have been in stimulus for a very long time. Now there's a paradigm shift. There's a shift here where most people haven't seen a neutral market in a very long time, where interest rates are sitting at 5, 6, or 7%, which are still great interest rates. One thing I want you to really think about is the stress test. The government has been telling us for a very long time that these interest rates will be coming back up. This is not a stress test video, so if you hit the subscribe button, you definitely want to see my video that I'm going to be really breaking down the difference between the 2008 market crash and what we're experiencing now. So subscribe, and that video will follow shortly. So what's my prediction? Well, here it is. We are going towards a balanced market, and during the stimulus economy, there were some things that happened which I think are going to correct themselves. Example, all the suburbs where people weren't buying, those markets got so hot in terms of price that you couldn't even find houses there. Those markets way in the outskirts will start to decrease because they shouldn't have been that high anyway. People's thought at that point was, oh, this pandemic is gonna last forever. I'm not traveling anymore. I'm not going to restaurants anymore. All I'm doing is staying at home. So I don't wanna be in the core in a small high density property like a condo or a townhouse. I wanna be in the outskirts where my dollar can buy me more, and I'm gonna have this big backyard. Well, guess what? Time's changing. And a lot of those people are sick of that commute. things are opening back out, the sun is shining, businesses are open, people want to continue their life, they're coming back to the core. So let me repeat. Properties in the outskirts are going to start to level off, which might mean that the core actually might increase. There's opportunity in every market. Like the condo market in a metropolitan area or your downtown is probably going to increase because as interest rates go up and as this pandemic kind of wears itself off, what's going to happen is people's buying power will go lower because of the higher interest rates. So they're going to go back to buying these high density properties closer to the core. That's definitely going to happen. So that's my predictions on the outskirts. Let's talk about consumer confidence. That's where the opportunity is. Anytime there's a shift in a market, which you're experiencing now, from a booming market to a balanced market, it's not a crashing market. Okay? Again, watch out for the next video when I talk about that. It's a correcting market. And what happens during that phase in between is consumer confidence is low. So right now, people are sitting on the outskirts. You know what savvy investors do? They buy when everybody's in panic. So I'm not saying that time is now for you, but if you are somebody that wants to get ahead in real estate, buy during that time when that consumer confidence is low. In my market, it can shift like that. But the funny part is, when the market is really high and there's a lineup of people that want to buy a house, we're overbidding. But now when there's an opportunity, when there's an actual opportunity to get in and actually negotiate for some real estate, people are sitting on the sidelines. The reason for that is a couple things. Number one, I already talked about it. We feel comfortable in a mob. Don't be that person. Stay outside that mob. That's how successful people make their net worth. The second reason is people are not sure of what's gonna happen. They're sitting back and waiting, which I totally understand. They don't understand where the market is going to go, so they're watching it until it's safe to buy in. Okay? And with all these interest rates hike, they're figuring out, okay, what's gonna happen to the economy? So when that wears off and we're back to a balanced market, guys, I simply believe in my marketplace, which is GTA in Toronto and the surrounding area, there is a supply issue. We do not have enough homes or property to go around for the demand that we have in our area. So that will always take precedent over anything else. And that lag in between where consumer confidence is low is your time to buy. And when this all wears off, which I think should be in a short time, now I'll watch my words there because some of you think short time in real estate means I'm gonna double my house value in a year. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but we've been hitting some high returns. Short time could be a year in real estate because it's a long-term investment. Short time could even be a year and a half. Having said that, the way I understand real estate, this lag will last a short time. At the end of the day, here in my marketplace, there is not enough supply to cover demand, and that will always take precedent because people want to live in this area. Make sure you know your market as well as I know mine. But one thing I will guarantee you, when this consumer confidence is more confident, real estate will continue to go up. Listen, if you got some value from this, hit the subscribe button. If you like it, let me know. Give me a shout. We'll sort it out.